Welcome back to UBO's Trending Gist, where we break down the big stories making headlines. And folks, we have a major development coming out of Abuja today in the ongoing trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB. In a move that's sending ripples through the legal and political landscape, a federal high court has thrown out key evidence the Nigerian government was relying on, specifically, alleged confessional statements from Kanu himself. Stick around, because we're diving deep into what happened, why it happened, and what this means for the trial. Now, for those who might need a quick refresher, Nnamdi Kanu is a highly controversial figure. He's the leader of IPOB, a group agitating for the secession of Biafra from Nigeria. This has led to him being a thorn in the side of the Nigerian government for years. Kanu was first arrested in 2015 but was granted bail in 2017. He then disappeared from Nigeria, only to be controversially rearrested abroad, a process his lawyers have called an extraordinary rendition, and brought back to Nigeria in June 2021 to face trial. He's facing a slew of serious charges, including terrorism, treasonable felony, managing an unlawful society, and incitement. The government considers IPOB a terrorist organization, a designation the group vehemently denies, insisting they are a peaceful self-determination movement. Alright, let's get to today's explosive ruling. The prosecution, representing the federal government, brought forward its third witness. This witness, identified only as CCC for security reasons, is an operative from the Department of State Services, or DSS, Nigeria's secret police. The DSS operative attempted to tender two crucial pieces of evidence, video recordings and documents purported to be confessional statements made by Nnamdi Kanu after his arrest. The prosecution argued these statements were admissions of guilt. But Kanu's legal team, led by prominent lawyer Chief Mike Oscom, SAN, though Paul Erekoro, SAN, argued this specific motion, immediately objected. Their argument: these statements weren't given voluntarily. They claimed Kanu was under duress when these confessions were extracted. This is a common legal defense. If a statement is coerced, it often can't be used in court. Because of this objection, the court, presided over by Justice James Omotosho, had to pause the main trial and conduct what's called a trial within a trial. This is essentially a mini-trial specifically to determine if evidence, like these statements, was obtained legally and voluntarily. A constitutional blow to the prosecution. And this is where it gets really interesting. After hearing arguments in the trial within a trial, Justice Omotosho delivered his ruling. He acknowledged that Nnamdi Kanu's team didn't definitively prove the statements were coerced, and the video evidence itself didn't explicitly show signs of intimidation or torture. However, and this is the critical point, Justice Omotosho found a fundamental flaw in how the DSS obtained these statements. He ruled that the absence of Nnamdi Kanu's legal counsel during these interrogations rendered the statements inadmissible. Inadmissible due to absence of legal counsel. The judge stated, and I quote part of the sentiment, "The statements are inadmissible in light of this omission by the prosecution. The objection of the defendant's counsel is upheld. The statements of October 23, 2015, and November 2015, earlier admitted in evidence, are rejected." Justice Omotosho emphasized that the presence of a lawyer during the extraction of extrajudicial statements made outside of court, is a constitutional requirement in Nigeria. He specifically mentioned that security agencies must comply with relevant laws, like the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, ACJA, 2015, which has provisions aimed at protecting the rights of defendants during interrogation. This requirement, he said, is tied to the fundamental right of every Nigerian citizen. Constitutional right. Presence of lawyer during interrogation. Cites. Administration of Criminal Justice Act, ACJA, 2015. This is a huge win for Kanu's defense. It means the prosecution cannot use these alleged confessions, which they likely saw as cornerstone evidence, to build their case on those specific points. But wait, there's more. New evidence emerges. Now, the drama didn't end there. Following this significant ruling, the prosecution didn't just pack up. They resumed their case with the same DSS officer, CCC. And they introduced a new piece of evidence. This time, it was a video disc titled, "Interview with Sahara TV." Sahara reporters, for those who don't know, is a prominent online news agency known for its investigative journalism and sometimes controversial reports. Unlike the alleged confessional statements made in DSS custody, this interview was presumably given publicly. The court admitted this disc into evidence, and it was subsequently played in open court. New evidence, interview with Sahara TV, admitted. We don't yet have full details on the content of this Sahara TV interview or what specific points the prosecution hopes to prove with it. But its admission suggests the prosecution still has other avenues they believe can link Kanu to the charges. This could be footage where Kanu makes statements that the prosecution deems incriminating, but crucially, made in a public forum, not under alleged duress in custody. Implications and what's next. So, what does all this mean? First, the rejection of the confessional statements is a significant setback for the prosecution. They now have to rely on other evidence, which might be more circumstantial or harder to directly link to Kanu in the manner they'd hoped. Second, Justice Omotosho's ruling powerfully reaffirms the importance of due process and constitutional rights in Nigeria, particularly the right to counsel. It sends a strong message to security agencies about the proper procedures for interrogations. Key takeaways: 1. Setback for prosecution. 2. Reinforces due process. As for what's next, the trial continues. The prosecution will present more evidence, including this newly admitted Sahara TV interview, and call more witnesses. Kanu's defense will continue to challenge the evidence and present their own case when it's their turn. This trial has been long and politically charged. Previous attempts to try Kanu have been fraught with legal challenges and delays. For instance, in 2022, the Court of Appeal actually discharged Kanu, ruling that his rendition to Nigeria was illegal. However, the Supreme Court later overturned that, ordering the trial to continue at the Federal High Court, which brings us to today's events. This latest ruling on evidence adds another layer of complexity. Trial continues. Expect more twists. This Nnamdi Kanu trial is far from over, and today's ruling has definitely shaken things up. It highlights the critical role of judicial oversight in high-stakes cases like this. We'll be keeping a close eye on developments. What do you think about this ruling? Does it change your perspective on the trial? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Yuba's Trending Gist for more updates, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next report. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.